Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of To The Point podcast. Hope you guys are all doing well, surviving the crappy weather here in Rexton. Looks like we're back to storm, maybe snow this week. So really excited for that here in mid-April. But we're here back on a Tuesday night. We're going to be doing something a little different tonight. We're going to pick a new show. We're going to announce that at the end of this podcast. But tonight, this was my co-host's idea. Great idea from Shamus, who I'll get to in a second. But tonight we're going to be debating Adam Sandler versus Will Ferrell. I'm really excited for this podcast. Two men I really have looked up to my whole life when it comes to comedy. We're going to talk about Saturday Night Live. We're going to be talking about their past 10 years and the good and very bad that they've produced. We're talking about their impact on sports and a whole plethora of things. But before we get into that, I just want to wish a happy belated birthday to my co-host. He's now 24. He's out of the period where nobody likes him anymore. As Blink-182 said, nobody likes you when you're 23. So, but Shay, good to see you again, and happy belated birthday, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And anyone who wished me a happy birthday over the last day and a half, some people thought it was the 11th for some reason. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate that. But no, it feels good. Yeah, no, at Blink-182, I'm glad everyone starts liking me again after that rough 23rd birthday. Jesus.
I got a couple months before. A lot of people don't like me
4.
already, so it's kind of just I'll add the rest of them to the mix. But
yeah.
What made you think of Adam Sandler versus Will Ferrell? This was your idea. What made this come to the surface for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought of a long time ago doing a matchup of some sorts, and whether it was acting, whether it was sports, because I mean you do a lot of that as well. I just thought something along those lines of like two great teams, two great players, or maybe just two great actors. So it's just like, hey, you know what two actors we've watched probably since the time we were 3, maybe even younger.
Yeah.
That's brought us joy, laughter for pretty much our entire childhood. And I thought, you know what? I don't know if many people have done an Adam Sandler versus Will Ferrell matchup. So I just thought of it, and they both have a lot of similarities. But more importantly, they both have great careers. So it's easy to compare and contrast when it comes down to it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they both gone down similar paths. Obviously we're gonna start off talking about Saturday Night Live, but yeah, I mean both these guys have really incredible comedies. I think they're both fantastic comedians they're very different in how they do it, I think, but we'll get into all of that. But let's start with, their beginnings. Obviously, you don't just become a great comedian. You usually don't just catch a break. Maybe if James Cameron is casting, maybe he does that, but we're not talking about him tonight. So Saturday Night Live. Let's start with who had the better career on Saturday Night Live for you, Adam Sandler or Will Ferrell?
Oh, we're not even going to go over them. We'll just say.
We'll go
well,
into,
I think it's
after, but who do you think had the better career?
Yeah. Oh, off the bat, it's got to be Will Ferrell. Yeah. And it's so funny the timeline that just runs on, right, Juggy? Because Adam Sandler came in about 1999 as a writer. He was going through the ranks in that way, and then finally he got his own skits. Him and Chris Farley, very close. Obviously, I wouldn't say took over, but they were a big part of Saturday Night Live for that 5 years, I would say. Yep. But who joined as soon as they're gone? And by the way, Adam Sandler said that they were fired. Him and Chris Farley were fired. I don't know if that's entirely true, but it's kind of a funny story. They both hope. And then same year, who comes in? But Will Ferrell. So it's just ironic. One guy kind of steps down from the show, and another guy totally takes over. So who's your guy for this?
Yeah, to me, it's Will Ferrell as well.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, really.
I was starting to go through it, doing some research, and Adam Sandler's got some great skits. But I mean, Will Ferrell was George Bush, and he was a phenomenal George Bush. The way he said things, just the temperament, I thought he nailed it. he was also Alex Trebek. And Alex Trebek admitted in interviews that he really enjoyed watching Will Ferrell make fun of him on Saturday Night Live. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know.
Mhm.
The Celebrity Jeopardy skits with Sean Connery are iconic. I think of the 40th anniversary where Connery and you got Burt Reynolds and you got Jim Carrey playing Matthew McConaughey. I mean, that's good stuff. You have Kate McKinnon as Justin Bieber. Will Ferrell was fantastic, and another skit we can't forget is More Cowbell.
It's got to
Uh,
be the best.
it's right up there for me. It's got to be in the top 3.
Oh, so funny. And you know what skit's really, really good, Juggy? When the only people that really can keep together are the real actors on there, like Farrell and Walken.
Right.
Everybody around them is just trying not to laugh because that Farrell is just he's outrageous is the only way you can put it. Like he's got the gut hanging out. He's just slamming this cowbell. Oh my god, it's good. Explain. I guess you should probably explain for those listeners who probably haven't even seen what we're talking about.
Yeah. So this scene is it's about the band called Blue Oyster Cult, and they're singing their song "Don't Fear the Reaper," and they've hired Christopher Walken as their producer slash coordinator of this take. They're doing takes of the song. They have the whole band. Jimmy Fallon's I believe he's playing the drums if I remember correctly. He might be playing the guitar, but they got him. They got Sands, who's Fallon's good buddy. He's in the band. They got some not well known guys, but they're well known on SNL if you've seen it. And anyway, Christopher Walken. I mean, he's Christopher Walken. I think he's the best SNL host in the history of the show. The way he did this scene, Colonel Angus. I mean, he's killed it on Saturday Night Live. But so Will Ferrell has got on this tarp that's about an extra small, and his role is to play the cowbell. And the first take, he's just kind of playing it, not really. He's not really part of the band. He's just there, right? And Christopher Walken comes in. He's like, no, it's no good. We need some more cowbell. And he's looking at Will. He's like, you got to bring it. And so they go into the next take, and he just starts hammering the cowbell, going to the right, going to the left, swinging his arms, his legs, the guts everywhere. and the lead singer stops the take because he says, Chris, are you sure we need this much cowbell? And he goes, Christopher Walken, the iconic line, I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. And
Yeah.
it leads into my favorite take, where the lead singer basically hates Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell takes the cowbell, sticks it in his left ear, and he just starts hitting it so time after time after time as they're singing. And anyway, it ends up with them, Will Ferrell with the gut hanging out, Jimmy Fallon. As you guys, if you've watched SNL, if you've seen him on his show, the guy cannot keep it together. He's
Never.
dying of laughter. He's hiding behind the drums because he can't stop laughing. And it was just iconic television because, number one, it's Blue Oyster Cult. They're not exactly, I mean, you're a bigger music guy than me, Shay. They're not Led Zeppelin.
No, they're not a huge band. They would have been a pretty big band for that time period,
I mean, it's a
though.
good
But
song.
you're right. Like, yeah. Oh, and that's a fairly popular song too. So
Yeah.
most people would have known it.
Right. So you got them in it. You got Ferrell doing it, and it's an incredible scene. I mean, you can buy a poster that says I need more cowbell. I mean, it's lived over time. It's like Chris Farley with Motivational Speaker with Matt Foley. I think that those would both be in the top 3 SNL
For all time.
time. I wrote down a few of Sandler's really good one because we both have Will Ferrell, but I wanted to include Sandler. Lunch Lady Land is really funny. He's done that multiple times with Chris Farley. It's great. Gap Girls, again, that's with David Spade and
Yeah,
Chris Farley.
hilarious.
Those three were great television. I loved I love that. Opera Man was another big one for him, where he would basically make
Correct.
fun of people in pop culture. And something Adam Sandler is doing now, and I think killing it, is just writing songs. He's written the Chris Farley song. He's got a Netflix special, the Hanukkah and Thanksgiving songs. So he had a great run at SNL too. But I mean, Will really just killed it with a number of different things that we mentioned.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I got one down here, Canteen Boy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Was another great Adam Sandler one. Just and that one rolled on for quite a while too. But no, I mean it more cowbell. I mean it's iconic. And you're right. If you know SNL, you know that one skit probably by the back of your hands. I'd say it's just awesome. It's awesome. And I was doing some reading when we were digging up on this, Juggy. It seemed like as Farley and Sandler left, like there was a huge decline in SNL,
Yeah.
like with viewership and people like not liking the show as much as they used to. And I guess like with Will Ferrell and the new cast they kind of brought in, they just kind of reamped it and it was like right back to where it was supposed to. So I think that's pretty good. Like obviously for the '90s, you drop Sandler and pick up Ferrell. It's a pretty significant upgrade, I would say, for that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for what he did, like we meant, I mean, it's not, it's a big role to take on playing a politician because that's a huge part of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
They love to satire politicians. It's, they did it with Donald Trump for the past, 4 years, 4+ years with Alec Baldwin. He had to play
yeah,
George Bush. I mean, that's George Bush was a lot of politicians are hated. George Bush he was loved by a lot of people, and
yeah.
I think he did it fairly, but also being very funny. Dana Carvey I think did a very good job at being a politician on Saturday Night Live. But Will has done his own shows being George Bush since Saturday Night Live, so it's lived on. And um, obviously him being Trebek was I mean, he did it forever, and that we've seen Celebrity Jeopardy continue with the likes of Steve Harvey because of Will Ferrell being a trailblazer in that skit.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right. Absolutely. And just hinting on to Donald Trump and Alec Baldwin. The those skits where they have the Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump one. I think those are so funny. Like
Yeah.
that was like well, it's anyone listening, that, and maybe you don't watch an SNL. It's took probably a wrong turn, I would say, in the last probably 5 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
Gotten a little less funnier than it used to be, but yeah, that's gold right there. I thought that was funny because whenever you attack a politician, I mean, I would say the majority of people are going to laugh because they're just so outrageous.
Right. And, we saw Will take on politicians. We've seen Jason Sudeikis play Mitt Romney. And I think
Yeah,
he killed playing Mitt Romney. Kate McKinnon, like you said,
it's,
playing Hillary Clinton. It When you
yeah,
play a politician and you do it well, it can really spark a career for you. And it definitely helped spark and push Will Ferrell forward in his career.
yeah. The only other skit I want to mention is Will Ferrell's "Get on the Bag" Brandon skit, where he's basically this this little peewee softball kid's dad, and he gets in the stands and he's just a normal guy, but every time his son's up to bat, he's just screaming at him, "Get on the bag, Brandon!" And just that's probably one of my favorite Wills. It's not very well known, but it's just one of my favorite, just because he's like this, I don't know, this alcoholic dad. Just everyone around him's just like, are you okay? Like, do you think we should bring Brandon home? Like, oh, it's
There's
good
another
comedy.
great one where Will Ferrell's in a hot tub and Jim Carrey's the lifeguard, and it's hilarious. If people haven't seen it, go on YouTube. And Tim Meadows is in it, and he does laps in the little hot tub with Will Ferrell in it. It's pretty good. There's also him with Rachel Dratch in the hot tub where they're talking about sex, and they're Roger and Virginia Clarvin. They talk about staying at this hotel, and Jimmy Fallon's in the hot tub with them, and Drew Barrymore. It's pretty damn funny too. So, a couple to check out. But so we both agree with Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live. They had a great early start to their career. We'll get more into that later. I'll just mention a few off the top for both. Will Ferrell, you know, Anchorman, uh, Anchorman 2, which I think was a rare sequel that was fantastic. Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, you know, Semi Pro, Old School. I mean, Old School is still a very popular movie to this day. Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore, The Water Boy, Big Daddy, 51st Dates. He had some really hit movies early in his career. But looking past the early hits, from 2010 on, it's been a little lean for both of these actors. I think both of them have had some good stuff and some not great work. In the past 10 years, who put out the best product in your eyes, Shay? And why?
I'm gonna go with Will Ferrell on this one, and it's not quantity for Ferrell; it's quality. He's just had better, I'd say, much better movies than Sandler's had in the last 10 years. And this is another part of it. I didn't realize that Will Ferrell does a lot for producing shows and producing movies, so that takes up a lot of time as well. So he's, obviously he stepped back from his acting career to pursue, that. And not saying anything, Adam Sandler still does a lot of those things as well, but it just seems like Will Ferrell does a little bit more, especially within the last 10. I'll let you pick, and then maybe we can, compare and contrast why we think.
Yeah, that's just hard for me. I like your point about quality over quantity. I look at both of them. I think quantity, obviously, it's Adam Sandler, to your point. I look at Uncut Gems. I think that was a phenomenal movie. I loved
Yeah,
it.
on the same page.
They they both got a lot of flops in there.
Big
But I'm looking. I had Sandler originally, but I'm gonna pivot to Farrell because he does not have Jack and Jill on his resume.
Oh,
Jack
so
and
bad.
Jill may be it's one of the worst movies ever made. It's gotta be. But I'll go with Farrell as well because him and Adam McKay work really hard with other people making movies, and they're a big part of them. One that I know for sure they worked on is The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. They helped cast that movie. Will Ferrell and Melissa McCarthy are close friends, so they worked to do that movie, and that turned out to be a really big hit. So that's one movie I know that they collaborated on. Adam McKay also worked with Identity Thief. Jason Bateman, Melissa McCarthy. That also turned out to be a great comedic hit. So, but what's good quality for Adam Sandler over the past decade?
Well, we just talked about it, Uncut Gems, and we'll get more into that later. I don't want to spoil it all for now. But Uncut Gems, for people who haven't seen it, basically the plot is just a guy who owns a diamond store, probably in New York City, is a fairly bad gambling debt with people. I'm not going to say who, give it away, but yeah, it's just a wonderfully shot movie. Great acting by Adam Sandler, probably some of the best in his whole career, which is surprising because you think like with the movies he produced when he was younger, you think like that would be his magnum opus, but I think this could be one of his, if not one of his best movies. That's my boy. Hilarious, funny. People have their opinion on it, but I still think it's great.
I do too.
Oh, it's just so many quotable things in there, and I don't know. It's just a large cast, but it's hilarious, and it's just the theme is hilarious. Donnie Berga is just, I don't know. It's an iconic character, to be honest. And the last one, just go with it. Maybe not some of his best work, but I thought it was okay. Like it was a pretty fair movie, and him and Jennifer Aniston seemed to have good chemistry on set. So I like that one as well. But for flops, before I'll let you can take over here in a second. But just for flops, I got Hubie Halloween. I watched that one last Halloween. That was pretty awful. Murder Mystery, I wasn't a big fan. Him and Jennifer Aniston, I think they tried to rekindle that, but I don't know. I didn't like that one. The Do Over with him and Spade, didn't like that one. And the common theme here is they're all Netflix movies.
Right.
I don't know if they can't hit on good Netflix comedic movies, but they can on dramatic movies. But that's just mine. And then Jack and Jill and Blended are the other two I had down. Didn't like those whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's my boy. Probably has like a 10 rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but
It's
I
hilarious.
love it. I love it because yes, it's stupid. Yes, the plot's stupid, but comedies are not supposed to be. Titanic was shitty, but you don't hear that every day. But comedies are not supposed to be this well-crafted thing. Step Brothers, does that make a whole lot of sense? Some of that movie, no, but it's iconic. It's funny. Again, Donnie Berger with Andy Samberg, who's a really funny guy. Him, you spill my beer, fucker. The whole train story. I can quote that whole thing because it's hilarious. Him with the New Kids on the Block tattoo. I mean, I love all that stuff. De blank, e blank. I love that stuff. So I agree with that. Another one I did like from Sandler, and this is a Netflix movie, but I agree with your point about Netflix movies, especially when it comes to comedy. I don't know if they just aren't afraid to make a joke, or I don't know, but we can get into that. But The Week Of, it's with Chris Rock. It's about his daughter getting married. I didn't mind it. I thought it was clever. It had its moments where you're like, okay, this is kind of stupid, but I didn't mind that one. The do-over was bad with Spade. That one was bad.
Don't recommend. Yeah, you not gonna make your top 10, is it?
No, not gonna make my top 10. Will Ferrell. How about the flops for Will?
Yeah, I just gotta turn the page here. I have about one page for if we do like a show. I have 3 pages full for this just one podcast because there's just so much to talk about. So for flops, for one, Daddy's Home. I don't know if that's just me, but I just can't get into those movies. I know him and Wahlberg have had chemistry before and it seemed to work, but neither one were like that funny to me, and I don't know. Zoolander 2. I didn't mind Zoolander 1 actually. Zoolander 2 I didn't really appreciate. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you on Daddy's Home. I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, and I mean,
Linda
I don't know if it's like,
but that was it.
well, it's a bonus. It's a bonus. And what's the guy that's good friends with Eric Andre? He's the carpenter, or no, the electrician.
Oh,
Hannibal Buress, is that his name?
yeah, Hannibal Buress.
He's funny.
Griff.
He's got some jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Griff. He just hangs out at the house. And Holmes and Watson too. I haven't seen it, but just the reviews I read online, just not a great flick from what I heard. They tried to rekindle that John C. Reilly and Ferrell connection, and for what I could tell, it just didn't work. Sorry. But and then on the plus side of that, for Ferrell's like, things I do like. For one, he catches the tail end of The Office in that kind of that time frame that we talk about. So I got that down because even though it's probably not the best part of The Office, it's still really, really funny for the handful of episodes that he's in, right? I think you would agree. You're the Office master. Yeah. Yeah. And then he's in it for a brief time. He's in Eastbound and Down, which is an HBO special, which it's Danny McBride. It's hilarious. If anyone's looking for a new show that's a comedic one, go check that out. He's in that. And then The Campaign, great movie. Him and Zach Galifianakis, really funny. Like, honestly, they get a genuine laugh every time. Just the plot around it. I think Zach Galifianakis kind of steals it, but Will Ferrell's just as funny. Of course, we talked about Anchorman 2 and that just being, that being a hit. It's not my, like, it'll never compare to Anchorman 1, but it was still really, really, like, you will get a chuckle out of it for sure. The fact that he's blind and there's just a lot to it. And Get Hard with him and Kevin Hart, another kind of hit. I put it with the Campaign, kind of like it's a good movie, like not Ferrell's best work, but really, really funny.
Yeah, if you can remember a few scenes like from a movie, it's done well in my opinion for a comedy. I look at Get Hard, the yard scene with Kevin Hart
Yes.
as the multiple people and Will Ferrell trying to interact with him, giving the French accent. Like that's really funny. You mentioned Anchorman
Yeah.
too, with him being blind, or when he's going to dinner with his black girlfriend. That scene is so funny. I love that scene. And I agree with you on the campaign. I got terrible reviews, and I don't understand why. I mean, they're making fun
Me
of
too.
politicians, and they do it really effectively. You have a
Yeah,
guy,
that's probably why.
right. You have a guy in Cam Brady, played by Will Ferrell, who is an average politician. Then you have this loser who it's like Zach Galifianakis is running for the Green Party or something, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But I think I really enjoyed that one too. I agree with your flops. The one I will add, I know some people really like this movie. I hated it. It's The House. Uh, I didn't.
Yeah, it was on the fence. Yeah,
I
yeah.
did.
I didn't mind it, but I can see why it's not liked.
My boy Pam's in it, who I love on Dirty Grandpa, but I that just it wasn't for me. But yeah, I would have to say Will Ferrell just because Just Go With It was okay. Blended was like 51st Dates trying to recreate itself. It didn't work. Grown Ups, I mean, there's Grown Ups in there too. And Grown Ups
Grown
2
ups.
is really bad. Really, really
Yeah. Oh
bad.
yeah.
With Taylor
Yeah.
Lautner doing backflips and fighting Shaq. And I'm like, okay, I mean, Salma Hayek.
Is grown ups? Does Grown Ups 1 make that cut, or is Grown Ups 1 before 2011?
Yeah, Grown Ups 1, I believe, came out in like 2013.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a bonus. It wasn't a bad flick, but it's more just kind of a family friendly flick, I
Right.
guess. Not no real dirty comedy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Just Go With It in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I put it on the same level.
Yeah. So yeah, so we got Will Ferrell up to Cobb right now. Uh we can pivot into sports, but I thought before better sports movies, but I thought before we did that, what's your favorite movie from both of these two?
All time.
Yeah.
Oh God. Wow, that's putting someone on the spot. No doubt for Sandler, it's Happy Gilmore. Oh my God, that movie just makes me crack up. Just a really good feel good movie, and it's just so funny. Mista, get me out of here. And oh, just there's so much good. We'll get into that one in just a second, but that's probably for me. And then Farrell, God, it's so tough to pick one. I love the other guys, Juggy. I don't even know if I've told you this, but like that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mhm.
I don't know, I just thoroughly enjoy it. Like even Mark Wahlberg is just so funny trying to, and that's like a first time probably playing comedic act for him, and
Right.
he's just so good too. So ah, but then you got Step Brothers, you got Talladega Nights. Oh, there's just for Will Ferrell, it's just too hard to pick. But I'll put the other guys up there as one of my favorite. What about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the other guys, somebody could say throw it on and I'd never say no. I've seen it probably 25
Yeah,
times. It's
me
always
too.
funny. It starts with The Rock and Sam L. Jackson. It pivots to Will Ferrell with doing accounting. I mean, I love it. For Sandler, I love Happy, but my favorite Sandler movie is actually Billy Madison. And
Okay.
I think if I remember correctly in my life, it was the first Sandler movie I ever watched. So that might be why. But I just found the premise really funny. I thought you got like Norm Macdonald who's in that movie. You got Chris Farley who plays the crazy bus driver. The whole Old Doyle rules I thought was great. And you know,
Steve
Billy,
Buscemi's in that movie too.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, he is. And you got just Happy going back to school, being afraid of little kids for a little bit. I thought that was good. The whole Miss Lippy thing. And even the
Yeah.
dynamic between him and Eric, I thought they both played that very well. We see Eric he's a father in Get Out. I think the guy's a really good actor because I think he's got some range. So I go with that, and then I gotta go with Step Brothers.
Oh yeah.
As you know, I probably annoy so many people with how I can quote that movie. one of my biggest skills in life, and it's not, I'm proud of it, but I also wish I had other skills. Like, I wish I could fix stuff or knew anything about a car or just like basic skills, but I can quote a lot of movies, and Step Brothers is at the top of that list for me. Playing the movie game, if you will, and him and John C. Riley, even the parents. You got Mary Steenburgen in that movie. I think the whole cast with Derek, who is in Parks and Rec. Um, I just think it's a great cast, and it's one of the best comedies of all time, in my opinion.
It's a fucking Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah. Rob
Oh,
Riggle threatening to eat a
yeah.
guy's dick.
Bam!
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
saying bam? Wham. No,
Um,
easily one of the most quotable movies. You're right, and everyone's seen it too. I feel like it's just one of those universal movies. Like, if you haven't seen it, you're kind of like probably strange, or you maybe don't get out too often. I don't
right.
know. That's
And
just how it goes.
their reference, I think it's one of the more, you think of movies, and iconic movie is Good Will Hunting.
Mhm.
And how John C. Riley goes to a therapist and starts using the plot of Good Will Hunting as he talks to his therapist is one of the great scenes in that movie. I bust a gut every time because it's still funny time after time. When the therapist goes, "Is this Good Will Hunting?" He goes, "No." Sounds an awful lot like the plot to Good Will Hunting. Well, it isn't. Anyway, my best friend's Ben Affleck. He just says it with a straight face. But yeah, these two have some great movies. And like you said, we'll dive into that. And a lot of what they've done, just looking through their resume, they both love sports. We've seen Will play in play his anchorman role at sporting events. We've seen Adam Sandler be Happy Gilmore. I mean, Happy Gilmore is still a well-known person. He tweeted out the other day to Will Zalatoris that Happy Gilmore is going to be watching him today because he looks like his old caddy as the kid in Happy Gilmore. And Will responded to him. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a pretty cool thing. But who made the better sports movies for you, Shay?
I'm gonna go. I gotta tie up the score here, Juggy. I'm gonna go with Sandler on this one, and
Yeah.
I'd say Will Ferrell probably has more sports movies, but Waterboy and Happy Gilmore are just two all timers, and they're just so good. It's I don't know. It's like it's probably biased because I think Happy Gilmore's my favorite. It's obviously my favorite Adam Sandler movie, but
Mhm.
it's just impeccable. And on the other hand, I mean, Farrell's just got some unbelievable sports movies. I think his list is probably longer for sports flicks, but yeah, no, just Waterboy and Bobby Boucher. That character just gets me going every time. I know you reference a lot of Bobby Boucher, but it's great. And the fact that Kathy Bates is his mom and she does a really good job as a comedic
Yeah.
role in that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's good. What
Yeah.
about you?
That movie, I assume, has a terrible rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But you have Kathy
Probably, yeah.
Bates, who one of the best actresses in the history of
All
film.
time.
Um,
Oh yeah.
you have Henry Winkler play the coach. I mean, that he was on Happy Days. He was the Fonz, and he's playing the coach on Waterboy.
Yeah.
You got a slew of characters that you see in every movie. We haven't won a game since 1994. The quarterback. So I got to go with Sandler as well. I do love Happy Gilmore. Bob Barker making a cameo. You have,
Yeah.
like I
Hilarious.
mentioned off the top, Shooter McGavin, Happy Gilmore, two fictitious characters are referenced by pro golfers. Pro golfers. And it's not like it's a joke. Like, I guarantee you, if Rory McIlroy could go play around with Happy Gilmore, so to speak, he would be happy to do it. And it's Adam Sandler, an out of shape guy, just wanting to play around a golf. But I love it. And you mentioned I do have a soft spot in my heart for the Water Boy. the whole foosball is the devil, and Colonel Sanders, and Mama Said, and I I love those two Sandler movies, and even The Longest Yard was a solid sports movie as well for Adam Sandler.
Was, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people rip it just because it's a remake, right? But honestly, like I've watched The Longest Yard probably 5 or 6 times, and I don't get tired anytime. I love that opening scene where he's upstairs crunching chips and beers, and he just takes off in his missus whip and just absolutely totals it. Even that scene gets me going. I just think it's so funny.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, I mean, we're comparing two really good sports actors here. Will Ferrell, Talladega Nights. That great movie.
Yes.
Great movie. I mean,
Oh,
we got John C. Reilly. We got the guy who plays Borat. A lot of people.
Sacha Baron Cohen. Yep.
Sacha Baron Cohen. One movie I actually like him in. Um, you know, just
Michael Duncan's in there too, and he's
Michael Clark
for a
Duncan.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not a comedic actor, but he's even really, really funny. You think of the scene, Juggy, where they're sitting in Will Ferrell or Ricky Bobby thinks he's paralyzed, and they're just trying to, they're trying to tell him he's not, and he just won't believe it. He's like, I hope you have two perfectly good sons, and they both have their legs, and they have them ripped away from them. And then Michael Duncan just delivers an all-timer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't you wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby?
Yeah.
Don't you wish that evil on me?
Yeah.
And you got, I mean, Cal Naughton Jr., you got Leslie Bibb, who plays Ricky's wife. His two kids kill it as well.
The way they talk to their grandfather, man, that like I quoted that. I swear to God, I quoted those scenes probably for 2 weeks straight.
Right.
It was just so funny.
And you also got Patricia Clarkson in that movie as Ricky's mother.
Yeah, and Amy Adams.
Amy,
it's an all-star. It's an all-star all-star cast, really.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, great cast. Again, Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. I mean, that's iconic. It's kind of like, Michael Scott stealing the Wayne Gretzky quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If you're not first, you're last gets referenced on sports fields, every day. So, a guy with two first names, he starts off, he can't do an interview, which is hilarious. He's asking him where he puts his hands. So great movie. I know this one's near and dear to our hearts. I imagine a lot of people don't know this movie, but Semi-Pro, I love it. It's stupid, yes, but again, comedy is not supposed to be serious, well put together, so to speak. It's got a cast of characters that aren't that well known, but you got Jackie Moon, who's this larger than life character. You got guys like Coffee Black. You got Twiggy and Father Pat and Will Arnett, who I think is fantastic play-by-play alcoholic, and just the hijinks that they get into that movie is fantastic.
Yeah, you got if anyone's never seen, what'd you just call me?
Yeah,
called you. No, he didn't say it. Yeah, he called me a jab turkey.
Yeah,
that poker scene is just iconic for the fact that they're all just sitting around and just tossing a loaded gun around like it's no big deal. Oh, it's good. And yeah, to your point, Semi-Pro, people who haven't watched it, it basically takes premise. He's an owner, coach, manager, player, and halftime performer all in one.
Yeah.
Just the basis there just makes you it just cracks up. He's hilarious. The afro gets it for me though. It's great.
Yeah. And he's got his Love Me Sexy song, and he's just this, he doesn't care about winning. And there's this iconic scene where he gets a layup, and then Father Pat calls him for traveling, and he looks he screams at him and says, "Suck my cock, I'll murder your family." And that whole stretch is fantastic. And pro athletes do that like that. I think it's more making fun of the pro athlete for freaking out for a call, but that's shit happens. They're not afraid to go there. And another good one, you got Blades of Glory. That's maybe it's not for everybody. I don't mind. I like it because you got, again, Will Arnett, you got Amy Poehler, you got John Heder, who's just coming off of doing Napoleon Dynamite. You got the coach is forgetting the actor's name off the top of my head, but he's well-known guy.
He's iconic. Yeah, exactly.
Craig T. Jones. So you it it's great. Chaz Michaels, Jimmy McElroy are figure skating. We're listening to one song only. If you've listened to that song Blank in Paris, I mean that's in that song. Yeah, I mean we're picking hairs here, but I really, I see Kicking and Screaming as the worst sports movie, but it's not a movie that you're like, okay, it was terrible. So I think both of them have done some good work in the sporting realm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, who thinks to make a movie about two male figure skatings going together and competing? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It comes down to just great writing, and that's what a lot of these movies are. Waterboy, same thing. Talladega Nights, great writing. That's what you can basically attribute that to.
Yeah. Just fantastic. How about the best character in all of these sports movies? Which character stands out the most? Of Sandler, Ferrell, of all the movies, which character is the most iconic for you?
That's a good question. God, I think Happy. I think the fact that he's got like a little tick of anger management, the fact that he loves hockey, but it just happens to be a great golf player, that gets me going too. I love Jackie Moon. I think his character is hilarious. That he's he bought a basketball franchise on the fact that he made so much money off this song he stole from his mother. um, God, there's quite a few, but I think Jackie Moon or Happy would probably be up there for me. What about yourself?
Yeah, Happy for sure. I like the point about him wanting to play hockey, him hating golf at the beginning, and he meets this guy named Chubbs Peterson with one hand, and he's got anger management. He's doing everything that golfers would never do, which I love. Swearing, beating guys up, wearing a Boston Bruins jersey to
yeah,
and the iconic line. I think we said this last week on the show, but green jacket, gold jacket, who gives a shit? He doesn't care. Like he's just there to make the money, which is a lot of sports athletes do that. So again, him, and then, but for me, number one, it's Bobby Boucher, just because, I have a soft spot for that movie, and the Water Boy, and him, attacking people, and me just being such a football fan of him, said I could, all those funny things that he does. I love it. Vicky Valancourt, she let me touch her boobies. I like them too. So he's just such a weird cat. And that movie Touche, I mean, you got like Farmer Fran, who you can't understand a word he's saying, but it's a memorable character because he's just this weird ass guy coaching the special teams.
Yeah. He's like not like he's your typical just like backwoods farmer, but here he is coaching this program, and that just kind of explains all you need to know about this school in general.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, great sports actors for sure. So let's pivot to better career outside of comedy. This is interesting because it can be acting. It could be, like you said, Will Ferrell does a lot of work with different people. So start us off. Who do you like better? Who has better work outside of the comedy realm?
Yeah, I had to do a lot of digging for this one because there's a lot of things these guys do that are maybe not shown. Like they're kind of behind the works. They're producers. They're helping. I don't know if either one of them directed it. They're a full film yet, but for this one, I'm gonna say Sandler, just because sticking a step away from his comedic roles and kind of clashing with Netflix to make Uncut Gems. I thought that was brilliant. I'm sure he's got a lot of other hand in a lot of other things. I know that I can't say off the top of my head, but I know there's a couple shows that he's helped produce and help make that are really, really good shows actually. And for Ferrell, you know, he's been helping, I think, develop Bad Blood or Bad Blood. Forget his name. He's a Canadian actor. He's on Sons of Anarchy. Chibs? No,
Oh,
Tig.
Tig. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
He's Will Ferrell's been helping make that, I guess, the next season of that as well. So they both a lot of things, but one shout out to Will Ferrell in a movie he does really well is Everything Must Go. It's a pretty dark movie actually about him. He's an alcoholic salesman. He gets fired. His wife leaves him. Turns out his wife's been cheating on him with a detective that's been helping him, played by Michael Pena, oddly enough. That's a really that's a really that's a really good movie for him stepping away from comedy and doing something a little different. But yeah, no. What about you? What do you feel? Who has made a better impact outside the world of comedy?
Yeah. Both of these guys have done some work in animation. You got Adam Sandler, who's done like Hotel Transylvania. I think there's 3 of those movies. They've been a really big success. You have Will Ferrell, who's been in like the Lego Movie. Those are popular. So they both have branched into that, which is interesting. Uh, Will Ferrell and Adam McKay actually worked on the movie Vice, which was a big hit with Christian Bale. That's on Netflix. If you haven't seen that movie, it's about a politician. Really interesting film. But I'm also gonna go with Sandler because I think nobody would have thought he could have did Uncut Gems. He's never did anything other than comedy, really. And for him to take that chance and knock it out of the park, you have to give it so much credit. Number one, his acting is phenomenal. You believe that this guy is such a desperate, he's a gambler. Again, he's risking everything. He's dealing with Kevin Garnett. He's cheating on his wife and I think it's really well done. Again, he helped direct, produce it. So this was his idea, him and his Happy Madison team with Netflix. But this was a Netflix original that was kind of outside their barrier. It had some nudity, it had some language. This character was not going to be PC, so to speak, because a degenerate gambler in his position 9 times out of 10 isn't. And I think for him to take that on and to knock it out of the park, I got to give it to him just based on that movie, because I don't know if Will Ferrell could do that for a whole movie, where you believable.
Yeah, I agree.
That Sandler did it.
Would you compare that to a comeback as such as Tiger Woods winning the 2019 Masters?
Yeah,
guys who are probably outside their. No, there's just 2 guys that are outside of their prime, but making this big splash comeback. And maybe Sandler does something down the road which is similar or similar value, but yeah, I just think about the character. I think about the ice on him. He's the way he dresses, the way he talks, like his relationships with, you're right, with his mistress, and then also with his wife that he's getting, going through a divorce with. It's so entertaining. The fact that there's a lot of involvement with sports gambling and Kevin Garnett's in there, it's awesome. It's not for everybody. I've turned it on to some people and they've thought it was stupid or kind of dumb, but it's in my point of view, same as you, I think.
Yeah, and what I don't like, I've shown it to a few people and I've gotten similar reactions, and people will say, "Well, he's a comedic actor." Well, if he's only you're boxing somebody in,
Yeah.
If you looked, I'm going to use this example, which won't be liked throughout, but I'll use it anyway. If you look at Leonardo DiCaprio, he started off with Titanic. I hate Titanic, and if you just looked at that movie, you'd say, "Well, his career's going to suck." He had a pretty damn good career. He turned it, or if you look at him, he did Great Gatsby. Can he only be an actor that plays? Is he only a character actor? Can he only be these people? I think boxing somebody in and just saying, well, he's been in comedy for 10 years, that hurts a guy. You're not even giving it a chance. So I give him a ton of credit, and I like the Tiger comparison. Tiger had another back surgery, divorced. He's can't hardly play around without grabbing his back. He comes back and wins the Masters. Adam Sandler, I think, should have been nominated for an Academy Award, and he
Should have. Yeah.
he made a joke about not being nominated, and it was a great Twitter thread where he said, "Proud of my friends who were nominated. Sandman at least doesn't have to wear a suit this year, but proud of everybody, especially Mama." And he was referencing Kathy Bates, and she says, she responded with, "Oh, I love you, my Bobby Boucher. Love you, son," something like that. And it it he takes it really well that he's not a respected actor, I think.
Yeah.
And he's come to that point of his career where he knows himself and he's happy with the work he's done. And I give him a ton of credit for blocking out the hate, so to speak.
Yeah, he's not trying to prove anything to anyone at this point. I mean, he knows what he's done, and he knows the legacy he's left behind on comedic acting, and now a little bit of dramatic acting as well with this flick. And yeah, I mean, getting snubbed from that, it was an okay year. I mean, there were some people who rightly deserved to be up there, but for the fact that he never got a nod, it was kind of ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, exactly.
Yeah. I just ridiculous, but we'll move on from that. So
2-2 right now for these two.
yeah, so we're gonna head into our these are our last kind of two thing. Well, it's our last kind of headline, but we're also gonna pick our ultimate favorite. Who through the years do you think has had the bigger impact on sports? And you might say, well, it's Adam Sandler right off the bat. Will Ferrell has been an anchor man. He's gone into the TSN booth multiple times. He's done LA games. You see him at a lot of games. He did the baseball thing where he went to 6 different stadiums in one day, playing left field, second base. So it might sound obvious right off the bat, but I'm interested to hear your take.
To pick one right off the bat, I'm actually going to say Will Ferrell, and to the time that he was watching that tennis match, and they interviewed him, and he was like just drenched. Like, yeah, this is actually like the third shirt I've had to go through. Just shows the dedication he would have taken. Most celebrities, I think, would probably just walked away, but he was there. He was there for the whole thing, because you would know, Juggy. How long do these tennis matches take? Like some can be up to a day, right?
4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. So just like that, like he was willing to ride it out. So that, I think, his sport for the LA Kings when they ran through their 2 cups, I think that was huge. I think he continues support. He's not one of these Drakes, these
Right.
Justin Biebers. I think he's a true fan of, he's from California, so he loves the Kings. He's a diehard fan of USC, the USC Trojans football program. I don't know. I think that's where he went to school. I might have got that wrong, but I know he's a fan of the team. So yeah, so you often see him like just doing those, but yeah, and then the going back to what we said earlier, the sports flicks he's in. I mean, he's in more sports flicks than I say than Sandler is, because you've got Blades of Glory, Kicking and Screaming, Talladega Nights, Semi-Pro, and then everything all combined with that, and then on top of what you said, he plays his, he does that little interaction with Shaq where he's what's that called when you're kind of a bouncer of the arena? Is that, I know there's another word for it.
Yeah.
And he kind of just escorts Shaq out.
Mm-hmm. No,
he's doing stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you, because he's obviously Happy Gilmore, so he's made a big imprint because people know him as Happy Gilmore, and that's obviously huge. But Will Ferrell has done anchorman as a curling analyst for TSN. I don't think he knew a damn thing about curling, but it was hilarious when he was there. Him with Vic Rauter in the booth, they're talking about sweeping, and he's so clearly out of his element. But again, he's Ron Burgundy, so he's acting confident. He's acting like he knows everything, looking at the teleprompter where there isn't one. That's not even a sports movie. and that character has made it into the sports arena. So that tells you something about this character. We mentioned Ricky Bobby, his love of the LA sports market, his support of the LA Kings and their playoff runs. But he's, like you said, he's also there last year when they weren't a good team, and he still goes to Kings games. And when they were going to the Cup final, they found him. He did not get to the camera and was looking for attention like Drake. He did it organically, just being a fan. It's like Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson wasn't at the Lakers game being like, I'm over here, I'm over here. He was there. So they showed him. Billy Crystal at Clippers games. So I respect him a ton for that. And, just his overall demeanor, he's so unathletic. He's not in that greatest shape. But to have him be a kind of a figurehead for sports is really funny in my opinion.
Yeah, and we can't go. We won't go totally one side without saying Sandler. Obviously, he's a major supporter of all New York markets. I actually doing some digging while we were doing this podcast, Chuggy. He moved to New England when he was about 5, and he kind of grew up in that era of the Boston Celtics starting to dominate. You had Larry Bird in the 80s just out there putting on a clinic for most people. But he always was a Knicks fan. Even through all of that, he was a Knicks fan all the way through. I think he's a Jets fan. I might be wrong. I don't know if he wishy-washy. And then, Yankees or Mets. I kind of forget. I think he's a Yankees fan. So he's got love for all four. And there was something that said online. It was like Grown Ups 2. During the filming of that, he always had a crew of guys bringing the TV around so that he could follow, whether it was playoffs or just normal regular season games. So he's just a dedicated watcher and flick. And to his own right, I think he's a pretty good basketball player. You always see him. You always get slips of him and his dog and taking on people 1-on-1s or games of 2-on-2, 3-on-3. So yeah, it's just to give a little shout out to him because I know he is a big sports guy. Most people probably know him as the New York sports guy, but yeah.
Yeah, he's always at the Knicks games on Christmas Day. He goes with his family every year. So that's another cool thing that he does. Like you said, if you watch Chuck and Larry, yeah, it's acting, but the guy is a good ball player. He can play. We've seen him play against some actually pro athletes where he held his own. So he's a underrated athlete because he doesn't look like he's in the best shape, but he's great. People know him, and he also likes hockey. You see athletes, you see comedians or actors in the United States. I wouldn't think they love hockey. Sandler and Will Ferrell both love hockey. Sandler is a big Knicks fan. You see it on Big Daddy where he's watching the game when Cole or Dylan Sprouse is sleeping, and he's trying not to make noise because they're in overtime. And that's not just acting. He did that for a reason because he's living in New York and he wants to shout out his Rangers. So they both have had a great impact on sports, but yeah, I got to go with you with Will Ferrell. I just think he continuously stays active in that world and is does it organically and not through the likes of Drake and kissing ass and being a jackass.
Well, that takes us to the end here, and who do you got? Who's your guy? I know we put the score at 3-2, but I mean that doesn't mean you have to like Ferrell more than you like Sandler.
Yeah, to me it was so tough, but I picked the person I picked because of one film, and I went with Will Ferrell because of Step Brothers. I love Happy. I love Billy Madison. Step Brothers was my youth. In 2008, the movie came out. I was 10 years old. My parents should not have let me go to that movie, but me and Riley Kale went to that movie. There's about four other people in the theater, and I'm busting a gut watching Step Brothers. Thankfully my parents let me watch Seinfeld at about age 4. So I was introduced to probably things I shouldn't have been introduced to at a young age, but Step Brothers really changed me when it comes to comedy because it allowed me to watch Superbad. It allowed me to watch Pineapple Express, these raunchy comedies that my mother probably still doesn't want me to watch, but they serve a purpose, and I love it. And John C. Reilly, I mentioned the cast, but 2008, it'll always be a special year for me because I got to see that movie. And I'll pick Will Ferrell. He's had great movies, Adam Sandler. They both have had great careers and some flops, but everybody has some flops. But I'm gonna pick Will Ferrell just because of that one movie.
Yeah, no, that's right. And to bring it back to what you said about theaters and that movie coming out, I'll never forget when my parents brought me, me and my brother, and we're both fairly young, obviously. And I'll just never forget how grateful I was when uh, Will Ferrell actually brought that fake nut. I don't even know, it could have been a real nut, and
Yeah.
wiped it on the drum set. There was people leave at that point. People were leaving the theaters. I just remember this girl. She went with her grandparents, maybe not knowing how gruesome it was going to be. It's not gruesome, I guess, but just raunchy. And then her grandparents just dragging her out of the theater, like, what are you watching? You can't watch this. So I was just grateful that my parents, let me stay and watch it, and it was hilarious. So I'll never forget it. And yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm gonna score that we went with 3-2 at the end of this, but I was gonna pick him regardless. I think Will Ferrell, just unbelievable career. What an actor, and overall, just I think he's just funny. You just look at Will Ferrell sometimes and you just laugh. Kevin Hart, when they were doing an interview for Get Hard, said Will Ferrell was just the funniest person he's ever been around, and that guy's a comedian, like
Yeah.
a legit go out and he said Will Ferrell was just unnaturally funny. Like he just made him laugh just by being who he was.
Right.
So I take that into mind. I think he does a lot. I outside of comedy and with producing and helping shows get on their feet. So yeah, he's the number one choice. Adam Sandler will always have a spot in my heart for the flick he did when he was younger. Billy Madison, Happy, Big Daddy, even Mr. Deeds. I like that movie too. Anger Management, but yeah, no, Will Ferrell tops the cake. He's the matchup winner, I think, for both of us.
Yeah, and another this is so funny because Will Ferrell makes cameos, and he was in like The Internship, which wasn't a bad movie. Again, he's in Old School, which again is a phenomenal movie. But Austin Powers, he's in Austin Powers 1 and 2 as
Right.
Mustafa, and he's only in the scene briefly. The first one, he ends up changing the cat into the ugly, hairless Mr. Bigglesworth, and Dr. Evil burns him alive, but he's still alive down there. That is such a great scene. Where, or the next one where he gets pushed down the hill and his legs are broken, and those two scenes are so innocent. You can't see his face in either of them, but you don't have to because it's Will Ferrell. It's just him being, like you said, naturally funny. He's not saying anything crazy, outrageous, but saying, "Could somebody come help me? I'm very badly injured." Or when he's down in the burner room and he says, "You just shot me," and he gets shot again, and Dr. Evil has to call him back. Is he dead? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just take care of it. But those little things that he does just make him such an icon.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And his work with him and John C. Riley, I mean, I think it just goes unmatched as two guys doing comedies together. It just goes down as two of the all-time greats, really.
Yeah, and you look at they were trailblazers for the Jonah Hills, the Seth Rogans, and that was a big reason Seth Rogen did Step Brothers, is because he has such respect for Will, and what kind of what he did. Even the James Francos and these new quote unquote comedians, Paul Rudd. So he's fantastic. I love him. So that's really going to wrap us up. Our Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler. I love doing this, Shay, going down, talking about some of our favorite comedies. We'll definitely do this again. Maybe we'll pick some comedians, or maybe we'll pick more serious films that we both really enjoy. We could do directors too. But why don't you let the listeners know what show we'll be covering next, starting next Tuesday?
Yes. So the reason for this pause is Jogi will probably me, but I think I just took a little too long on what I was going to pick last week, and then this week that's gonna, this is where this came from, kind of a buffer, a little matchup. But no, I think we're gonna hit back with HBO, and we're gonna go with the show Succession. And this show had me intrigued. The trailer, I watched it, and that was, I think there's maybe two seasons out right now, Juggy.
Yeah, I think they may be filming the second one, or it might be just released, but the first season swept the Academy Awards.
Yeah, and I mean, people will say what they want. Oh, they're all rigged, but if it does that well, there's probably a sure sell time that it's going to be a good show. And what the basis is this family, very successful, very wealthy, and you have the different kids in different parts of the family, and they're all feels like they're all trying to get their little nib at the crown. But I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be a good show. I think it's got a lot of depth to it. I couldn't tell every actor in it, but I know that there's some big names. I think the guy who he's in the X-Men series, right, Juggy? I know he's even more than that, but he's a big part of it. I think he's the father figure in this, and just a bunch of other great actors. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm pumped that you chose this one. And I haven't watched it after I saw it sweep the Academy Awards. Like, I have to watch the show, and I'm glad that we are, because I want to see if it's worth his billing. And also I think it's gonna be really good. So I'm excited I think the last show we did was great. And I think this one will be, HBO, they do it 9 times out of 10. They do a really good job. Game of Thrones had a great start. Towards the end, it was kind of a train wreck, but that's more on George R.R. Martin for not writing a last book. But good on you, George. But you look at their shows they put out. Veep was wildly successful. That was an Academy Award winning show. You had a show at The Rock that did very well for a long time. Yeah, Ballers. Chernobyl. You got obviously the show with the Westworld was wildly popular. So Succession, HBO, we're gonna stick with that realm and see where it takes us. So looking forward to next week. Shay, what's on your docket for the rest of this week?
Well, I think I'm going to return most weekends, probably get those winter tires off so they don't go bald. Probably pick up some new clubs. I'm excited about that. I heard you and Casey talking some mad shit about how you don't think I'll break 90. To your point, I have not broken 100 yet, so I guess I have a little bit of a mountain to climb. But I got some cards up my sleeves, I will say, and I think this is gonna be the year. I'm gonna break 100, and then I'm gonna. That's my two goals for the summer. So I'm looking forward to it. But other than that, exciting matchup tonight. Leafs just announced that David Riddick's gonna be in net against his former team. So I'll be tuned into that in about 20 minutes. What about you though? What's going on with you?
Just gonna do some podcasts, got some work to do. I'm trying to line up a big guest for episode 100. To be honest, I sent a DM to former NHL GM. I'm not gonna say who it is, but I'm hoping I hear back. Again, no promises, but I'd love to have him on. He's worked for multiple organizations. He's worked for Sportsnet in the past. So I'm hoping I hear back. Again, no promises, but we'll see. So episode 100 around the corner. Also, you got baseball in full swing. You got hockey with the lineup set. Taylor Hall's making his first start for Boston tonight, playing against Buffalo, oddly enough. So that should be fun. But like you said, a lot happening in the world of sports, and hopefully the weather will start to turn here too.
Yeah, I think we're just around the corner. We just get to the shitty phase, and after that, we're golden, right, sailing through the summer.
No, exactly. So great idea tonight, Shay. Great pick on Succession. We'll start with it next Tuesday. Hopefully Dirk won't be as cry next Tuesday, but we'll see what happens. Everybody, take care, stay healthy, stay warm, and we'll talk soon.